What's the cringiest thing you've seen a bride and groom do for their wedding? Not the couple. The pastor kept saying, "Our Heavenly Father, Daddy God," while marrying them. Edit. Thanks for the gold. For context, it was a military wedding. It was just the couple and the pastor. It was live streamed on Twitch, and the pastor was probably about 25. It was in Hawaii. He was wearing flip-flops. And a lei made of fake flowers. You know those slightly off-looking Mickey and Minnie Mouses you see in NYC? Yeah. They showed up for the first dance because the bride loved Disney. The entire room was forced to watch bride and groom dance alongside a deformed Mickey and Minnie, and halfway through they switched so the bride was dancing with Mickey and the groom with Minnie. I've never seen such a strange combination of stifled laughter and horrified stares. Edit. In case you didn't see my comment below. Oh, let's see. Groom changed who his best man was and didn't tell the original BM until the start of the ceremony. Bride and groom asked a guest to bartend the reception at the reception. Groom. Dirty danced. With his stepmom. Full hands on ass. Bride and groom hauled their wedding party up to do a choreographed dance to Meatloaf's Paradise by the Dashboard Lights. But didn't give them any pre-warning or teach them the dance. That song is 5 minutes long. Wedding was at a scenic boarding school campus during the summer. Guests were told dormitories were complimentary to stay in. Guests were not told there would be no bedding provided or AC in the building. Groom later emailed everyone who stayed in a dorm asking for money. Same bride and groom chose another friend's wedding reception as the right setting to yell at a third pair of mutual friends for not including them in their wedding party. Dated a girl in my 20s and went to her friend's wedding in upstate New York. In the middle of the service the minister's cell phone rang. He answered. It was God. God wanted to talk to the groom. Conversation lasted a couple minutes. Then the ceremony continued. I'm in the wedding industry. I've been to over 3,000 weddings. The singing your vows thing is never ever going to work out like you think it will. Never sing your vows. Never attempt to sing any part of your wedding. It will not go as you visualized it. A wedding day is not a good time for surprises. Don't surprise your bride with an unexpected part of the ceremony. Don't surprise your mom by the wedding itself. True story. The bride told her mom she was going to an engagement dinner. The only exception to this rule is if you give the bride a surprise addition to her ring, grandma's diamond. A ring made from her parents' rings, etc. Jokes about sex later are never funny. They make people uncomfortable. And it makes you look like an adolescent. There will always be crickets after you make the joke. If you are going to be late, communicate that to everyone somehow. Have your or your parents, or someone tell everyone you will be late. The staff needs to know. Especially if you forget the rings. Don't stress it. It's a funny story. If you forget your vows, wing it as best you can. Just don't sing. Ask the officiant for help for last-minute vows. Finally, don't get drunk and be an ass. You don't want to be that guy. Plus, if you are drunk, you won't be able to have sex later. Crickets. The minister, or pastor, used to date the bride and gushed about how wonderful she was. Told the groom if he ever died not to worry. He'd take care of her. I was shell-shocked. I so wished I could think of a reason to ask the couple for a copy of the video of their wedding but couldn't quite find a legit one. It's a tie between my sister breaking her knee. Seriously. At her own wedding dancing to the Cotton-Eyed Joe and my stepsister having her reception at an honest-to-God truck stop while 6 months pregnant. In her defense, the food was good but wow was it weird walking through a gas station in formal wear. My uncle not only brought up his daughter's ex-boyfriend in his speech but talked about their toxic relationship for a solid 5 minutes. I highly recommend preparing a speech before talking in front of a room full of people. Not wedding but engagement ceremony. They reenacted a scene from an old romantic film. About two lovers in 1800s. In front of like 300 people. This was more so the bride's family. One of my first classmates to get married. We were approximately 19. Had a small reception. Mostly family and friends from high school. Nothing wrong with that. They decided to auction off the garter belt. And whoever won took it off the bride. Most of us were poor college students. So the only people bidding were her dad and uncles. It was super uncomfortable. When I was 11 my cousin got married for the third time. I never really liked her because A. She was 37 when I was 11. We didn't have a lot in common and B. She was pretty full of herself. The wedding itself was fine. Pretty boring but fine. Then we get to the reception. We were told we had to sit down as soon as we got there. Some people found it weird, but I've only been to one other wedding before this. Her other marriages were when I was little. No kids were allowed at her weddings. So I didn't think anything of it. The bride and groom then make a huge dramatic entrance and everyone awkwardly clapped for them as they strutted around the room with actual crowns on their heads. The bride then gets the microphone and hands it to her mom and asks her to say something she loves about the bride. She then tells her mom to pass it on and says she wants everyone in the room to say one thing they absolutely love about the bride. Not the bride and groom. Not their relationship, just the bride herself. It was super awkward. Edit. This blew up a lot more than I thought it would, lol. So for everyone asking, what did you say? And, where is she now? I said, your eyeshadow is pretty. Because I felt so awkward and wanted to die. My older brother said, pass. Which made her force a fake laugh and urge him to say something. He ignored it and she kept insisting, so he said, your parents, and passed the mic on. She and husband 3 divorced a few months later because he was caught cheating with an 18-year-old still in high school. He gave off bad pedo vibes to the point where even strangers noticed and wanted kids to stay away from him. She married another guy a few years later and they are still together. Bonus, she likes to take pictures with a life-sized cutout of Trump and post it on Facebook because her mom and sister believe it looks so real. Nope. And she even pretends she's been caught cheating on husband 4 with cutout, posting pictures of her kissing it or it in her room with a caption like, oops, caught with my side piece. Or some cringe like that. Husband is also a hard Trump supporter, so he laughs about it, but her daughter, from marriage too, deleted her from Facebook and often stays with her dad because she can't stand her mom anymore. I wasn't a guest. I was working the wedding. The bride got drunk and sat on some other dude's lap for 2 hours and flirted with him while the groom sat by himself at the head table with a defeated look on his face. At the beginning of the reception, we all had to stand up and sing the national anthem. To be clear, this was in another country I'd never been to a wedding in before. So I thought, okay, maybe this is just a tradition I've never heard of before here. Then I told this to other people, and they were all like, no, that's just really weird. Also, at that wedding the father of the groom ended his speech with what I'm sure he thought was an amazing joke. On how it's easier to build a bridge to Hawaii than to understand what a woman is thinking. It would have been awkward enough had the man not also been standing between his ex and current wife as he was delivering it. They sang their vows to each other. Neither had a singing voice. Vows were generally batshit crazy. Like submissive in the bedroom. And not asking about where she was going. The auto-tune microphones were a terrible idea. Their vow songs shared a chorus and it was awful, and they expected the guests to sing along with the chorus. The vows singing lasted 20 minutes. Pure cringe. Giving horrible vows and speeches. A part of my family has the habit to use any family gathering as a moment to remember loved ones who died. That's not a comfortable habit for me, but to each his own. However, it becomes very weird when wedding speeches and even vows start to include great uncles who died more than a year ago. And the only people who actually knew him are my grandparents. Yes, the vows. And not even in an interesting way. But just, if only Uncle Barney could have still been alive while we are getting married. To be honest, our entire family is horrible at giving speeches. There's 2 brothers, one of whom is my dad. And 2 sisters. 1. My parents can only make joke speeches. 2. The uncle and his family make dry lists of things they do. For example, his wedding speech for his son was an 10-minute monologue about renovating the couple's kitchen. 3. One aunt can only boast about achievements their family members have gained. If there's no achievements, there's no speeches. 4. The 4th is the one with the death speeches. At my cousin's wedding, they did the thing where the groom removes the bride's garter and tosses it to all the single guys. I guess none of the guys wanted to be next to be married, because once the groom tossed the garter, no one grabbed it. It just landed on the ground a few feet in front of a crowd of motionless guys. The groom tossed the garter 3 times before one guy half-heartedly picked it off the ground. The bride wouldn't look at any of those guys for the rest of the night. Bride entered to Braveheart soundtrack blasting on boombox. Civil service that lasted a few minutes starting at around 1 p.m. She leaves to same blasting Braveheart soundtrack. The mother announces that the reception starts at 5:30 p.m. There is no food and no bar, but trays of dessert bars will be served. We are also told the venue is locked until then, so there is no place to wait. My girlfriend and I leave with a crowd of people to across the street to an Irish pub for drinks. A bit of a party breaks out there. We all get told to knock it off and come wait back at the venue in the hall. So we sit in the hall on the carpet for a few hours without drinks or dinner. Bride and groom arrive and enter the venue to an honor guard of floor hockey players wearing hockey jerseys and holding sticks above their heads like swords at a royal wedding. More Braveheart music, of course. Place emptied out pretty quick as people either left to go back to the pub or to the fast food place a bit further away. Our dinner was lemon squares and a can of Coke from a vending machine in the lobby. Funny stuff. Edit. I should mention that I got guilt-tripped into staying after the event to help clean up as I lived nearby and didn't have to work that day. It was the perfect ending.